Hey, Cure listeners. It's the Holy Hour. Welcome to another episode. This is Gavin, and I am once again joined by
Donald.
How's it going over there?
It's fantastic, man. Just all gloomy and mopey, you know?
It is full of gray, and seems
It's
like
that season, too.
it is. The time change has happened. The election has happened. We got smoke in the mountains here in Asheville, too. I didn't even tell you about that. We got fires in neighboring counties, apparently. So when you step outside, it's like a campfire smell that just like grabs onto all your clothes. So everything smells like a campfire when you walk outside, which is cool because initially you're like, oh, barbecue. But then you're like, wait, things shouldn't smell like they're burning. This is bad. And the sky is just gray. Oh my God. See?
I'm choking on that smoke.
He's choking on Asheville smoke. It's so
They
bad.
don't call it Asheville for nothing, you know?
Well, welcome, Holy Hour listeners. This is the All Cure podcast. We talk about the cure a lot over these parts. And,
The all and only.
It is. It's the only fucking Cure podcast. So, we try different things here. It's what we do. Sometimes we talk to our friends. Sometimes we talk to each other. Sometimes we talk to you people out there.
Are you saying we're not friends?
Yeah, no.
Sometimes we talk to our friends.
After that, why can't I be you one, man? We are no longer. But, yeah.
Jesus.
But I think we found some common ground again, so maybe this will rekindle our friendship.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
we're talking about Faith tonight. Faith. The album.
Fantastic.
You've heard of it.
Fantastic record.
Yeah. We're trying to go more in order. We hopped around a lot initially, and once we kind of put all the pieces together, we realized we've talked about Three Imaginary Boys, 17 Seconds. So now we're kind of trying to make a conscious effort to just go in order. But who knows if that'll last. We make our own fucking rules,
think so.
Right? Here at the Holy Hour. We don't care. But as of now, we're playing by the rules of history. So we're talking about Faith tonight. And, it's a fitting album for this week, like we're saying. There's a lot of smoke in the air, metaphorically and literally. So
I need some fucking faith right now.
Yeah.
This country's weird, dude.
we'll see. Yeah,
I feel weird.
Yeah, it's a lot of weirdness, and it's a weird album. It's a lot of gray in this album, from the album cover right down to the tones and the atmosphere of the songs. So,
I don't think it's that weird.
you know that? Do you think it's a natural next step from 17 Seconds?
Are we just going to get right into this shit?
Yeah, let's fucking do it. But yeah, Faith, the third album by this band that we love, The Cure, came out on April 14th, 1981. Mike Hedges was back at the helm on the engineering and producing side of things, right?
That guy's a badass.
Good old Mike Hedges, who'd worked with him on Three Imaginary Boys and kind of the man behind 17 Seconds, too. And, this was his final one with him, though, I think, right? As far
I believe so.
Yeah, and it seemed like he kind of run his course. There's some mixed things that we'll get into later, but he fucking nailed it in this one. Like, I think if you listen to the 17 Seconds one, it's funny because, like, for how definitive, like, they were about 17 Seconds and they felt like they nailed it. I had my reservations about it. I felt like he nailed this one, but as we've heard over the years, and of course, like, this was a bit more of a grueling process than the recording of 17 Seconds. This album was they were a bit worn down from touring so much on the road and playing so many shows that they kind of went into the studios not as ready to go, which may have been kind of intentional too, but they just kind of wanted to experiment more with the sound, don't you think?
I think so, and they were babies too, and I think that just them wanting to get back in is just a testament to what kind of like a band they were at that time, and they are to this day. Like, they're a bunch of kids, and a lot of times, a lot of kids just like think like, well, I got all kinds of time to do what I want and what I need to do,
right?
But not these dudes. They're like just chomping at the bit just to make just to make something, just to get it out,
Yeah.
Like prepared, unprepared.
Yeah, because it wasn't like they went into the studio writing these songs in like an unprepared way, really. I think it was more just like a carefree, cool, creative, artsy way. It wasn't like intentional either, but at the same time, they kind of just had like that. And we're going back to that initial question of like, do you think it was the logical next step from 17 Seconds? I think in the direction that they wanted to go in, I would say yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, there was never like any backtracking to like Three Imaginary Boys sound really, but going
Which
in,
they could have easily done.
Yes, but I think they took like what worked from like 17 Seconds and A Forest in particular and stuff, and like let's fucking take it up a notch, and I feel like
Completely.
That's what they did for sure,
Absolutely, man. And I think, up to a point, like it kind of maybe I think, each record is just the unanswered questions from the previous.
Yeah.
That they want answered themselves. So they just like right back into it. Like you said, they just like learn from the previous.
Mm-hmm.
Then you end up with Pornography. And that's the unanswered questions.
Yeah.
From Faith,
And some of the big factors are they're a 3-piece again. Matthew didn't pan out. He kind of got worn out by the end of the touring for 17 Seconds there. And
understandable that had to be a cheery.
Yeah, it just kind of phased out, which surprised to learn that he was kind of bored because they were making him play overly simplistic parts. Like that was something from Lowell's book. I'm about up to Faith in reading that, and like I was kind of shocked because he never seemed like a dazzling keyboardist, but maybe that was intentional. Like he was kind of like, fuck, just let me cut loose a little bit more. But like they kind of wanted him to play, like
He just started like twinkling around the keys.
Yeah, I kind of always just thought he just kind of sucked, but maybe it was like a little better.
He should have hung in till some later year stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he'd have been all over the fucking place.
Yeah, so it's a little sad, but seems like a natural thing. But so yeah, back to being a 3-piece. This was the first album that featured the 6-string bass, which would be a very Cure, New Order-y, Joy Division kind of feel thing going on.
Fucking Fender Bass 6, man.
Yeah, like we said,
those things are dope.
This is a very bass-heavy album. There's like all kinds of like cool bass variations going on in this, and
I love the sound of that 3-piece. Like where like Robert would be playing keys.
Yeah.
Lowell's drumming and like Simon's just ripping some shit on bass. Like that sounds dope. And then like 2 bass guitars basically.
Yeah.
Kicking it, man. That sounds so good.
And it's kind of a weird thing. I feel like there's not a lot of footage from like on like YouTube and shit of like Faith Tour stuff. When you see it, it's kind of rare.
Yeah, there's a couple, and
they're super grainy and shadowy and weird and shit. But like, it's weird to think that this is the era where Robert was playing the keys. Like when they do these songs live, he'd have to like step to the side and play the fucking keys so there's like All Cats Are Gray was like no guitars on that shit. So it's like
hell no.
It's all keys and like when they're doing it live, so it's just the 3 of them. So it's weird to think of him just stepping to the side and even singing while playing a fucking keyboard. It's like, wow, that's like you never see the Cure that stripped down. It's like, wow, it's pretty amazing. It's cool.
You can go from that to Why Can't I Be You?
Yeah, we'll come back into that. but yeah,
but to make a point,
exactly. Yeah, I don't know, even like 17 Seconds was more elaborate than that. It's weird when you strip it back to a 3-piece again, how limited you are. But they totally make it work, It's like pretty impressive.
I know, but you say limited. I think it opens up.
Yeah.
A lot, with a good 3-piece.
In a sense, yeah. It's just arrangement-wise.
It could sound bigger, man.
And they've always been good like that. And even up till now, like when they lose people and bring people back, it's always like really impressive thing, and probably one of the most impressive things about the Cure is how much they adapt the arrangements.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know, they've had like the tours where they brought back Poro and stuff, or they didn't have any keyboardists, and he was just playing like all the fucking parts and like the keyboard parts, you know. And they would tend to like swap out songs that were more guitar friendly versus ones that weren't. But at the same time, it's like, damn, that's impressive that they're not just locked in. You know, for the most part, they're playing the same guitar parts and stuff, but like they can adapt it if need be, you know. And it's it's pretty.
I mean,
cool.
they've been playing fucking music forever. If they're like, hey, let's play it a little like this.
Yeah,
they probably don't have to say anything if they just realize, like, you know, the lineup that they have and what they have to do, and just be able to do it.
Make it sound good. Good fucking musicians.
Yeah, man.
But so that recording process of Faith, they go into the studio. It's a little grueling. It's a little tough. Chris Perry isn't that into it. Like, he's kind of like backed off since 17 Seconds. But yeah, he's kind of gone on the record that he was not that involved until like he started getting worried that it was like getting to be more expensive if they like hopped from. They started out in Morgan Studios where they recorded 17 Seconds, Three Measure Boys. It turns out it's like a crazy historic studio. I didn't think it like it's like all these like Zeppelin records and shit, and like Paul McCartney and the Kinks and Cat Stevens and shit, like all these like not any of my personal favorites really, but I mean like historic, you know, groundbreaking records for sure. But but like I think only like a few of the songs came from those sessions. They popped around to a billion different other studios, and apparently they just did like a ton of copies of all these songs, and like they just scrap them. So I mean, it's weird that they haven't resurfaced somewhere, you know, like all these alt takes.
They're not on the internet.
I don't think so. I mean, there's definitely like weird variations of demos and shit, which is probably some of those. But like, I mean, reading up on all these different sources from the books, like how much, like it sounded like multiple takes of all these songs, and like they just scrap them. You know, they wanted it to be a down kind of funeral sounding album, which
did like fight their instincts to like.
Yeah, I just wonder what it was, and like they went on the record too saying it was like a poppier record or like more upbeat, I guess, going into it, but then like apparently
I want to sound like more like a funeral.
Right, they just wanted it to be heavier, and like apparently as soon as they like got some version of All Cats Are Gray going, that kind of set it off, and just like all right, we got our vision. Because Primary, I think in particular, they had like a lot of versions of that going around early on, and that's a pretty peppy one that proved to be the only real single from the album, you know. And and it's literally like the peppiest jam on that record. And it's weird. Like it almost like kind of stands out in that way. Like it almost doesn't fit. Right. So like the overall mood of it. They definitely caught a direction and ran with it, which I guess, you know, kind of bleeds into the idea of like overall themes of Faith when it got to the point of like they seem to have a specific goal in mind, you know, and we were bouncing around ideas like the obvious are like religion, death, belief, faith, you know, in general. So like there's a lot of religion going on and death, and you know, as like the sources all say, like the main factors being Robert Smith's grandma died right before they went in. So that was weighing on him a lot, and pretty soon I was shocked to kind of relearn that Lowell's mom was diagnosed before they recorded it, like as being terminally ill, and she was not gonna make it too long, but she was still alive during. Hey, let's write a record. Yeah, it sounds like a peppy mood. Like, oh man, if you're gonna send the Cure into the studio to make a record, these are great vibes to be sending them. So yeah, Lil's mom's dying. It's like the perfect storm of so these material. Poor Catholic school kids are going into the fucking studio, kind of weighing on being exhausted from touring, and 17 Seconds wasn't really the peppiest album either. So and they were still fucking children, basically. Yeah, and that's a huge point I'd like to bring up, I guess, right off the bat. We've talked about that with his age and how weird it is, but 21, blows my mind. About 21 when they record this, and like I'm just shocked listening to it now. As like, you know, I'll be 40 next year, you know, we're all closing in on 40 quick, you know, like songwriters and musicians and ourselves and stuff, but like what a fucking mature like album it is for a 21-year-old. Like not like a new groundbreaking idea of like battling death and religion as a 21-year-old in music, but same time, like so many people do it and like, and
such trite.
Yeah, not even like trite, but just in a way that fits a 21-year-old.
He tackled this shit like a fucking wizened adult, like a philosophical.
He really did.
Little dude, And
you think about it, and like being raised Catholic and a lot of like the shit he's gone on the record of saying is like, I looked at religion from all angles while making this album. I wrote a lot of songs in church, like I guess like lyrically and stuff, or melodies in his head while he's just watching people. And
Catholic churches can get pretty dark.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only been to a couple services.
Yeah.
They're all pretty.
I've been to a lot, and it is. Yeah, it gets like real like. Or what the fuck, and like and being raised in it, and I think that's kind
dark
of
imagery,
the truer images of that age, like coming to the point where you kind of question faith, and like everybody gets to it, and especially at that age, where you're like, is this bullshit? Like so much of your life, especially if you're raised in that, which I wasn't, but I know a lot of people that were, and my wife and everybody, and it was like. It's just like it's something you just grow up being a part of, and it's like, and then at a certain point when you're old enough, you definitely question it, and you're like, what the fuck? But I mean, being smart in a sense, he's looking at it from why do they believe it? It's not so much like a pissed off kid, and it's like it was weird because like. And I know it's kind of fashionable to like bash like Bright Eyes now and stuff, but like
I thought it always was.
No, maybe, but it seems like he's the easy target now that everybody that was like in the Bright Eyes phase is a little older, and it's like, But just seeing, and I don't even mean it in a bashing way, but I was like went back and listened to a bunch of Bright Eyes albums for this reason, even in like. He has like a lot of heavy issues he'll bring up, religions, a lot of them and stuff. But it sounds like a 21-year-old, and it's right because he is fucking 21, and he sounds angry,
it's a valid perspective,
and pissed off, and it's just whiny, and it's like, it's like, but like when you think of faith, it's like this just seems like way more mature than it should be, and probably
put
why
on his big boy pants.
Yeah, and it's like. And maybe it's because there's like real shit behind it, like with the weight of like Lil's mom clearly not going to be around much longer, and his grandma that he was apparently pretty close to passed away, and just being Catholic. So I mean it's pretty crazy just to see that perspective in an album that today even holds up when you get bummed out, feel like and
he did all this pre-internet too.
You don't need no Google here, man. It's not just whiny bullshit. This is real questioning of religion and death in general, It's like
not only like are the lyrics some big boy stuff and a very mature angle at kind of what can be treaded sometimes trite material, like religion, death, man, death is heavy, man. Like you said, it can be some kid shit,
right?
Just the topic alone, but
Yeah, because I mean, everybody goes to that. Like in college, you take your fucking philosophy 101 class, and you're just like, "This is fucking bullshit," And it's like, it's easy to just call it all bullshit.
You write an Avril Lavigne song,
right? It's like, but I mean, it's almost cool.
Some
or like
My Chemical Romance or some bullshit,
Yeah,
like,
before we even dive into specific
dark,
songs,
man.
but like the holy hour of the song, like is like each verse, I felt like looks at religion from a different perspective, even when you really do dive into the lyrics and shit. And it's like, I mean, and that's like lyrically, I mean, atmosphere wise, I feel like the whole album just like fucking nails this like crazy heavy mood to the point of like, I mean, it's just it's something it's weird. It's very rarely captured. Like, it's the shortest concept album ever, I think.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like barely 40 minutes. It's not even 40 minutes.
8 songs, but I mean, it fucking nails it. I mean, like you said, to the point where almost Primary doesn't feel like it fits because it's too fun.
Yeah. It takes me out of it sometimes.
Yeah.
Musically, how mature
Mm-hmm.
it is. It's controlled.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful little nuances, like just down the line how it was recorded, what they used.
Yeah.
Just and it's like a fucking 3-piece, laying this like layered, dark, sparse, not using like traditional instrumentation,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it'll be just keyboards and drums, or 2 fucking bass guitars, or like a fucking Fender Bass 6 and a bass guitar and a keyboard, and it's just like that, the beauty and the minimalism, it's.
Yeah, and again, like we said in past stuff, like just the timelessness of this, like how dated this could sound, but it doesn't.
Oh, totally.
You know what I mean? And there's parts where it's like a weird 80s dream feel to it, but like, I mean, it's so fucking cool that like anybody would not resist being in that 80s dream. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
I mean, maybe that's just where it all like balances out because it's so fucking cool and you want to be in it, but it doesn't feel 80s though. I mean, there's like,
no.
I mean, I keep always with these wanting to like look up other shit that like what else was going on in 1980, 1 and 81 with this, and it's like just to balance them out. But I mean, it's not even really worth looking up because it's so ridiculous. There's a reason why they're still playing these songs, and most of the people that have hits in 1981 aren't playing those songs anymore.
No.
and just along the lines of the death theme, aside from the religion theme, is like this is also coming off the heels, and the only thing that seems fucking comparable really is like Joy Division, and how like this is the closest parallels of like those. And this is like right on the heels of Ian Curtis's suicide in 1980, so it's like, and I think that had a lot to do with it, really. And then like there's
it's like the burgeoning goth
scene. And I guess I mean and
like fucking Susie recorded,
because they had plenty of shit before that, but and then they used Mike Hedges, and so I mean it was definitely full throttle at this point. But I mean this one, of any like Cure album, I would say this is the closest Joy Division album for sure, right?
I don't even put them in the same category. Like they're just 2 different things. Like it's in the same wheelhouse, and like and it's of the same scene, but I don't know. I can't compare the 2 like that. Like Joy Division had their own jam, and it was completely different than Faith. I think like anything Joy Division has done. I guess maybe like some of their
I think their actual albums. It's weird because I always get hung up on Joy Division singles and shit. But like when you really listen to like Closer and Still and stuff, it's like it is like the drums and the bass and that like 6-string bass and shit.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Like if you the vocals are so drastically different that it's a good decoy, But I mean, when you really strip it back, I mean, you can tell, like, Robert Smith's, like, such a fucking huge Joy Division fan. It's, like, whether he admits it or not. I think
it's hard not to be, man.
Yeah, I think he's even admitted it at this point a billion times. But it's, like, I mean, I just think this is, like, the clearest parallel anyway. There's, like, moments where he just totally branches out for sure. But, like, to me, it must have been, I don't know if it was just all stemmed off of, like, Ian Curtis dying around that time or what, but it was like...
Do you think there would be a Faith without Joy Division?
It's tough, but I don't really want to say no. Maybe not as drastic. I think there's a lot of Joy Division in Faith. I would think that there's something that's, like, stewing in there that totally made that happen the way it did, So...
Yeah.
So I don't think it would have been quite the
like
same.
Playing shows and listening to stuff, and it's all kind of like a new thing. Like you're going to be influenced.
Yeah, I think it would have been a little bit more 17 seconds or a little bit more pornography. But I think like where it kind of crosses over in the Venn diagram of things is Joy Division and in this area. So I think, I don't know. It's hard to say, but I think there is a huge parallel, and I don't know. But I mean, all that death, it'll do it to you, man. It'll do it to you. But and the Lowell story. You want to hear the Lowell story from the book?
Yeah, man.
We've been lining up all these
Lowell
references, and they're in like the 10 Imaginary Years book and Never Enough. But like, and it was weird, like how stuff didn't quite line up. But like how like if you're reading Lowell's book, and spoiler alert, kinda, but not really because it's in the other books. With all this shit with his mom dying, it's just like the super saddest, like it's just like really heavy and fits with Faith perfectly. And like, but basically he knew she was dying, and while they were making the album, and he went on tour even, like, so the album was done even before she had passed away, and like they went on tour.
She's like, go on tour.
And she's apparently a huge supporter of the band and everything, so it was like a cool mom perspective for sure. So he like went on tour, and they played a few shows. I think they made a pretty good chunk into the tour even, and like and then there's a few mixed up things based on the sources of like when he got the news, but basically the seems like the most overriding one, and from Lowell's book, was that like they played most of the set. He had told them not even to tell him if they find out that she died, because he knew it was coming, but somebody told him between the encore, and they came back and played Faith. He made it about halfway through the song, and then they're just like, fuck, and then he just like left.
Like the whole band knew.
Yeah, and it's just like, all right, and they're just like, cool. And then he flew back, and there's like a cool written out story in his book of just traveling back, like to see her at the funeral home. It wasn't for the actual funeral, but he saw her, and it was just like this heavy thing of like when you see somebody that's passed away, like a viewing, and it didn't really look like them and stuff. And but then he went back to the tour actually before the actual funeral even. I think there's only a couple shows left, and that's,
it was like before they hit the American.
Yeah, this is all like during, and I think this I didn't quite figure out if this was part of the circus tent thing that we'll get into later. But anyway, they're playing this show, and like the kind of like myth story or whatever, but it sounded like, coming from Lowell, this is the absolute version of it. It was his show back that he was like just fucking intense, and he played it like with this like ferocity, you know. It was just like tore it up, and like the tour guy like put it on a tape for him. He's like, yeah, you got this, you should hold on to it because you're fucking just wailing on it. And so he had this tape of basically like his show after he got back, and like, and then they went back for the funeral, and the whole band came. Were super cool, and they played a few songs, even like acoustic at her like burial and shit, and like,
Jesus.
Yeah, and then he buried the tape.
I wonder what they played.
Yeah, I'm sure it was shit from Faith, probably, if there's ever a time. But then he buried the tape with his mom, which is super sweet and weird. It's like, I threw it in the grave,
call
you know?
Bullshit on that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it does seem a little
cute. It's like sweet. It's very sweet.
Yeah, and then there's like tons of variations in the other books, but like based on Lowell's book, that's what he said. He buried it with his mom and threw the tape in there. And but I mean, you know, it just shows that, you know, she was like a supporter. It wasn't like, "Oi, here's my fucking tape" kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know. I was definitely choking up a little reading it, and I was like, "This is the saddest fucking album ever recorded," you know. So, but
I know everything around is kind of like, huh.
Yeah, and they just knew it was like very like what do you call it, you know, life imitating art, I guess would be the same.
Yeah,
like where they kind of first saw all this happening almost, you know what I mean? It was just like this huge like funeral album before she had even really died, you know. And it's like oh good God, you know. And like, I don't know, but
just like sandwiched in between these two like very sad things.
Yeah, you know, and like I guess Robert was channeling a lot of that. There's like sites of like them just talking a lot because they knew it was coming with Lowell's mom, but at the same time, you know, Robert had been going through some death, and they're just kind of worn out and into it at this point. Being some miserable drunk kids anyway, you know. It's like,
that'd be great if he was just fucking with Lowell. Like he knew Lowell's mom was died, so he's like, this will fucking break his soul. I'm going to write this fucking record and make him play it every night.
Well, it's a great segue where they like got into the tour, and they're all like, oh, we kind of like the backlash of like making this album is that you have to play it every night on fucking tour, and it just like destroyed the band basically, because they're like just come out like playing these fucking shows that open with like Holy Hour and shit, and like go into funeral party or whatever the fuck, and just like, oh my god, just being emotionally exhausted from these sets, and it's like that would be
it's
tough.
Not easy shit.
Yeah,
man. Like, it's a dark shit to play night after night.
But as far as the actual album, you want to run through the songs real quick? Just like initial thoughts. So it kicks off with Holy Hour, our namesake, I guess. So
I hate that song. It's a dumb name, stupid song. I don't like it.
Here he goes. Hit the stopwatch.
No, beautiful opening.
Yeah, it's such a good song. It's a weird one too, where like the bass line just carries the fucking. I mean, it's the catchiest part. It's first of many rad bass lines, I would say. Don't you think?
Oh, this album is just riddled with dope bass lines.
Yeah. And
like, it just starts off with a dope one.
Yeah. And it's just like such a cool, heavy song, but not. Yeah, it's a perfect opener, I think, for this album anyway.
Yeah.
Like, just like we said earlier, like the verses are great. Just dive into the lyrics sometime when you're just sitting there. It's like just cool perspective. And that's a weird thing on this album too. I feel like the lyrics are like brilliant, like, and they're all kind of buried, covered in reverb, and like in a cool, like, to me that just like reeks of like awesome modesty almost, where it's like these lyrics are it's so like, fucking good, and like they're not like thrown in your face by any means, but like usually when you do that, I mean, on some level it's kind of because the lyrics are kind of shitty, but I mean these lyrics are fucking great lyrics. I mean, you could turn these into like crazy deep folk songs almost, where it's like
no shit, man.
It's like,
I was thinking the same thing last night. Like I was listening to some Leonard Cohen.
Yeah,
R.I.P. Cheers to
for sure. Yeah.
Leonard Cohen.
Another great atmosphere of this week that we didn't hit on earlier.
Yeah.
Great being sarcastic, of course. Fucking terrible.
But I was listening to like Leonard Cohen
for
a while last night, and then I listened to Faith a bit, and it made me think of just like, because Leonard Cohen's like, he's just a lyrical mastermind,
right?
And I rarely pay attention to lyrics, but his are good, and and I was listening to the lyrics a bit on Faith, which I normally don't listen to. I just listen to the vocal melody and the dreaminess and the reverb and how it's set. Like that's so good. I don't even need the fucking words.
Yeah.
But listening to the words, like you said, it made me think of like you could put this to like some nice swelling finger picking acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
And it'd be like, well, that's fucking sad. Like it would still set the same fucking mood.
Yeah.
Just with the lyrics.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, because I mean, so many of these songs, if you did just mumble them, as like a lot of the demos are and stuff, like they're still fucking great. But
yeah, they still sound cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you didn't even need to have these powerful, great lyrics, but they are so cool when you really look at them and like, oh wow, that's like, and they're very like poetic, like we were saying earlier, artsy. Like there's a lot of interpretation. You can get out of it if you want it to be a breakup song. Even you could probably mend it to fit your life or whatever. But I mean, it's pretty cool here that like most of
it's
this
that versatile.
Yeah, and it is. That's what I even said before, like it being kind of a
Swiss
baby.
Army knife lyrics.
Yeah, it's a kind of a baby version of Disintegration to a certain degree, but not even the baby to like sound condescending towards it. But like, you know what I mean? Where Disintegration.
It's the toddler.
Yeah, like just to see like,
the pornography toddler.
Yeah, it's like,
damn it, we just got flagged by the government now.
Yeah,
Shit.
What? Again.
This will be the last episode of the Holy Hour podcast.
It's getting on you.
But
all right, so Primary, the second song, which was also the single, released a month before Faith came out, actually. And, it did pretty good. It peaked at, like, what? I don't know.
It's like in the 30s. Like in the 30s or 40s.
Do you have that number?
Not offhand, but I remember it was like in the high 30s.
Yeah, not a blockbuster by any means, but it did all right,
For a fucking weird song, it did did all right,
It's a peppy, cool song. I love it.
Yeah.
I feel like it holds up. I don't know. I kind of feel like the whole like point, maybe like a loss of innocence, childhood, the idea of primary,
like primary school.
Yeah, and just like that's
yeah
kind of the theme that ties into like religion and everything that we've talked about. It's like kind of just the loss of innocence, and, like
right.
children. That's a cool song though. I love it. How do you feel?
I like it. It's I don't know. It's always had like a good bass line. It's always been just a pretty solid little rock jam. It's probably one of the more like accessible songs.
Yeah.
On the record,
Yeah.
And to me it's a bit of a throwback to kind of their older sound and older being like 17 seconds,
2
like
years,
a year.
2 years before. Yeah.
It is, and a fun fact too. It's like when I was a kid, like every once in a while, my dad would, if we were in the car, he'd like, we got to put like some of our music on, and I put on Primary and played that for my dad. And I was like in fucking middle school or some shit. And my dad is actually like, "That's pretty awesome. That bass line's cool." And I was like, "Yeah, it is."
Yeah. Fuck yeah, old man.
Because normally he'd just like make fun of me for listening to the Cure. He'd go like, "Oh," and do like this overly dramatic Robert Smith kind of whiny like voice and like sing funny lyrics and stuff. I didn't say it's funny when he does it, but like when I was a kid, it's kind of like, "Fuck you, Dad. You don't know me, man."
My mom would do the same thing. He just goes, "Oh, I always love you." Like, yeah.
It's not how it goes, Bob.
It's emotion, Mom. That he's singing with emotion.
Yeah.
Do you think
understand?
Do you think that one legitimately won him over a bit, or do you think he was just like throwing you a bone as a kid, like just like, all right, it's
no, it legitimately
he's like, that's
won
pretty
him
cool.
over.
Yeah, awesome. I got a weird thing with other voices, and it's come up with like when we did 17 Seconds Play for Today, right? And I feel like as a music fan, I should know this better, but like there's some weird shit going on with like singles that aren't singles in the Cure history. Have you noticed this? Like, all right,
How
like,
so?
like this is totally sidetracked in a sense, but Staring at the Sea and Standing on the Beach and shit, like they're labeled as singles, the like greatest hits singles.
Oh, right.
They're not fucking singles. Like other voices, Play for Today, A Night Like This, there's a ton of them like that had videos. But they're not.
Yeah.
They were never fucking singles. Like, they made videos for them, but when you look at like, actual release singles that had covers and 45s and tapes and shit, like they weren't fucking singles. So like,
it's a good point, dude.
Why the hell were they included on like the singles compilations? Like clearly marked Standing on the Beach, the singles. But they were the ones maybe on Staring, like the CD, right? Because they weren't on the tape. But like Other Voices was one of them, like, and they had a video for it. Why the fuck would you make a video for it if it wasn't a single? But it's so weird. And I bet so. Listeners, this is a cry for help.
Like the only, I think the only reason it showed up as like a single is because they released it as video because it was like the emerging video time where everyone was starting to make videos. So they were like, what do? Let's do this one. But what a weird one to choose off that record.
Yeah.
To make a video for.
Yeah, but I mean, even
it's like the second poppiest song on the record.
I mean, what the fuck would you go with this album? But at the same time, yeah, it's weird. I'm like, because I remember thinking that I was like, yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's just like a song, but like weird single choice. Even as a kid, I was like, apparently it's not even a single. And going back to like what we talked about with Play for Today, I don't think that was ever a fucking actual single. Right. It was like so weird. It's like, what is that? What's up with that? Why were they on the compilation? They can do whatever the fuck
they want.
I guess, which is great, but why would you put it on your singles compilation if it wasn't a single?
Because you made a video for it.
Yeah, I mean, just, but so yeah, so Other Voices, cool bass line. It's more relationshipy, don't you think? It's not really as deathy themed. It's kind of like some cool like touching my skin. It's more like a relationshipy sad song than like it's not as death themed or religion based. I don't think if you really dive into the lyrics. But
I mean, why not just throw another shovelful on like the emotion pile?
Yeah,
you know,
why
like
not?
throwing relationships on top
shit.
of death and life and.
Totally. So I guess it all goes hand in hand. I guess.
Yeah, dude.
There's some things citing like Truman Capote, Other Voices, Other Rooms is apparently one of his books. I've never read that one, but supposedly it stemmed from that. A lot of literary references in Faith.
Robert Smith is a big reader.
Yeah, so it's kind of
cool.
Fun
fact.
Which makes sense, you know. So, which leads us into the next one too. All Cats Are Gray,
right.
which is a huge. Yeah, you like that song?
I don't know.
It's all right.
It's all right.
Is that one of your? Here's your moment to shine, bad boy. You love this song. Grease up your gray cat.
It's great. Just the greatest.
Great atmosphere. Great atmosphere.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's my favorite fucking song.
Is this your all-time number one Cure song?
Not only Cure song, but
ever. Wow.
Ever. This is my favorite.
Shit. Here we go. He's gonna cut loose now. This is Donald talking about his favorite ever fucking song ever recorded. Oh my god. This is a holy hour first.
I know. I like something.
He's gonna gleam the cube on this one.
I mean, I want to say I have so much to say, but I almost don't know where to start.
It's hard to talk about something you love. We've talked about this before. It's so much easier to talk about shit that annoys you, but
I know.
It's just
like off the tongue.
You're just like, it's great. It just says everything it needs to. But yeah,
like what can I say?
Well, let me throw questions at you to just prop it up.
Yeah.
Is there anything? Is it more mood oriented that you love, or is it the lyrics? Is it the specific drums? Is it what is it that? Just the whole package.
It's the whole package, like just the melody's beautiful. It's there's some delicacy to the structure of the song and just how they put all the sounds together and how they recorded them. It's that delicacy that I like, where they could do, I don't know, they could do other things and jazz it up a bit and still be a fucking awesome song. But there's restraint. It's in a setting that sounds like they're playing in a fucking church, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they were going for.
Yeah, I mean, it really does feel like a epic church dirge or something, you know? Like, I mean, it fits.
Just with all the keyboards and stuff, like, yeah, and it's just, it's a sweet song. It's a sweet, sad song. And
I feel like, lyrically, again, like what we talked about, where it was just buried, mumbly lyrics in a sense, but like they're so good when you really look at them, you know? It's like,
and something too with this song. It's one of the ones like he had in his holster, like one of the few, the band had in their holster when they went in the studio, and it's like, almost like this is like the blueprint. Or like the first stone to be laid for the record.
Yeah. Fucking.
And it's a worthy song. It's the impetus of my favorite fucking record, which is Faith. My favorite fucking song.
Quite fitting, dope. Eh? Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just one of those perfect fucking songs, man.
Cool.
Gets me every fucking time.
Yeah, it never gets old. Like every time you listen to it, it's just so good. Which is a cool segue, because it kind of leads into my one that like I love All Cats Are Gray too, of course, but like Funeral Party is kind of the one that I'm just like,
ooh,
oh god, I can't get enough of that fucking song. And like That's like follows it up.
Probably
right
the
after
second best.
Yeah. I just love that fucking song, and it's so simple. So like when you just, I'll just like sit there and like crank it and play the piano chords, and like it's 3 chords. You just bounce back, maybe the 4th when it goes to like that A flat, and it goes back. But it's so good, and I don't know. The name says it all. It's like just I don't know. There's been a lot of theories too that I read up on lyric wise. It's cool about like a couple buried side by side, where it starts out side by side, which is kind of cool. But I mean, it's just kind of the name kind of says it all, really.
Yeah.
But
and it's beautiful, like in a sense too, where these like all cats are great, and this are like two sides of the coin, because it's like
written
end
on the
of
same
side
night,
A.
apparently. I read somewhere, hard to say with all this bullshit on the what is the internet, that but yeah.
Imagine writing those 2 songs, and I'd totally be like, we're going in the studio now.
Yeah.
Like, what about the rest of the record? I don't know. We're just going in the fucking studio now.
Yeah. And it's weird too. Something that caught my ear listening of how much I love Funeral Party and what a fucking total bummer song it is. And even going back to like what we were saying of how this could be a folk song, because I've played it acoustic a billion times and love it, just like with a guitar. Pretty. Yeah, and it's like works fine. The lyrics are fucking great. You just kind of finger pick it, strum it, even whatever the hell you want to do. It works great. But like, it's funny with the whole like pop versus gloomy cure that always seems to come up over and over again. Like I came to the revelation that's like, the reason why their most gloomy songs are even fucking great are because he has such a great pop sensibility. You know, like when you listen to like All Cats Are Great and Funeral Party, like there's so many great like bummed out gothy bands or whatever, but like they're not fucking awesome songs in my opinion. Like the thing that makes these songs great is that they're so catchy still. Like the fact that he can have like such a downer tune and like it's heavy as fuck and like just sad, but they're catchy as shit too. Like I mean, I feel like the pop sensibility is what makes sad songs great too, and it's
perfect.
Like it's like he's such a great songwriter that he can like have something that catches, like stripping it down to just those 3 chords or something that found it like such a catchy riff or a little hook somewhere in there that like
just like the bass line will ride up for the chorus.
Yeah,
and that's it.
Even
just
if it's
like
just the fucking bass
it
line.
goes like the higher note and just holds it.
Yeah, I love it. And it's like, and that's where like referring even back to the why can't I be using shit? It's like this dude just has a fucking knack for it. It's like it is most bleak. Like we're in a normal band, because there's so many bands out there that can write a fucking even like 9 Inch Nails and shit. It's like some heavy shit. Like it's cool and dark, but it's never catchy. It's like very rarely. And it's like, in my opinion,
like some goth bands will just like ride like and that has its moments too. They'll just like write out a fucking goofy jam and just like just a real simple jam for a whole fucking 4
the whole song's
and...
just like and maybe I'm just anti-gothy shit or whatever, like to me even like Susie and Joy Division, if you're gonna lump them in, they're the only like even like creditable ones I can think of, and like they're only because they have a good pop sensibility too, it's like, so I mean to me it's like it's still got to be a good song. It can be as bummer as you want all day long, but if it's not memorable and doesn't catch you, and I feel like Funeral Party in particular like pulls that in like way good, it's such a catchy song. I love that song. Just like every year it gets better, which is weird.
And like you're saying, like that's fucking craftsmanship. Because it's again like All Cats Are Great. It's like a simple, stripped down, like just a few instruments, a few notes. Like, it's go build a mansion with this little tiny pile of wood.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And then you do it.
It's harder to do, musicianship wise. Keeping it modest and simple is harder a lot of times.
Yeah, and that's the charm to the record for me. Like, I love how stripped down it is, and I don't know. It's just like my favorite era of the band. Yeah, it's just such a good.
But in that track listing, sorry, did you have a point? I didn't want to.
Yeah, and I was just say, yeah, like it's like All Cats Are Gray and then Funeral Party were like I think the two songs they came in, making the record they had kind of really set.
Yeah.
And it's like All Cats Are Gray is like the end of the first side.
Yeah.
And then Funeral Party opens up side 2. Like, that's solid.
Yeah.
Like, what a good transition. Just record wise and, sequencing the songs and everything.
Which does break up the flow too in a weird way. I didn't think of the cassette perspective. But like, and even referring back to something Chris said in that episode with you of how this album gets a little boring. Like, I don't know if you remember that, and I almost agreed with it. But it's weird, like, because then, like, coming right after Funeral Party's Doubt, which is, like, I felt, and which was funny, you said Primary was, like, one that reminded you of, like, a throwback. But I felt like Doubt's, like, the last remnants of, like, Three Imaginary Boys era. Or like out of nowhere, the song's like five time, and it's like comes back to, and it's just kind of like not the greatest song in the world by any means, but like for some reason it's like vital to like the flow of this album, because like if you had just gone straight into Drowning Man after Funeral Party, like oh god, like it would have been like way too much, and like as amazing as those songs are, as we just said, but like if you just gone right into Drowning Man, I've just been like, that's too fucking much. But like just throwing like this punky kind of post-punk song again.
Yeah. It's one of the shorter ones on the record.
Yeah, and it breaks it up perfectly though, and it's a cool fucking song anyway, but at the same time, and it's weird that it's like, in my opinion, I felt like it was like the last trace of any of that like post-punky, shouty British accent Three Imaginary Boys shit, Yeah. It was like from there on, there's pretty much none of that. But like this is the last of it, and how well timed. Like strange that like that and Pornography are like really pivotal to this album, because otherwise it would just be like really fucking down and weird.
Like, I mean, if this is like the last thing they did, or like
if those two tracks weren't on Faith. Like if it was all just like through the whole thing, it would just be like
that'd be heavy as fuck.
Yeah, a little too fucking heavy. I mean, even like I feel like it's still,
if you're gonna do it.
I guess,
because I feel like almost like Imagine the record without Primary. Like, it's the one they put out as the single.
Yeah.
Like, was it just put on the record just because it was like a little peppy, and it's like, we can get a single out of it, like,
yeah,
because I can imagine the record without it.
Yeah, I mean it works, and definitely if you're just gonna go with the theme, I mean that's kind of like before we get to the end with like Complaints, but it's just like it's definitely a mood album where it's like so like in comparison to Disintegration, even like Disintegration has like those obvious singles that kind of like take away from like the heavier songs, so it's like this doesn't really have that. It's like a lot of just like it is what it is, but it's like it's definitely a lot of thick gray. Without those two songs in particular, it would really be just like nothing but like, and even going straight from Doubt into Drowning Man as far as like conversation wise, that one's always like my most throwaway song on this album. It's a cool song, but
I can see that.
It's like really just kind of like, here we go. It's cool,
I know, like,
but
just
it's
kind of
like,
thinking about it now, like, take like Other Voices, Doubt, and Primary off the album.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's a fucking bomb. Like, not a bomb in a good way. Like, it'll, like, it's a very
super heavy. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just be like,
the fact that even Other Voices would be considered a peppy song is like, I mean, that's not, I mean, it's just got a cool bass line, but other than that, it's not really a snappy tune by any means.
But I mean, and that just shows you, like, in comparison to the rest of the album, they really stand out that way. It's like, these little snap finger foot tapping pop songs. Like they're on any pop record, that would be these would be the saddest, most fucked up songs.
Right. It's like a whole album of it. And then capping it all off with Faith, the song. Good God. Oof. I feel like this might be my number one saddest Cure song. Do you have a number one most depressing Cure song?
All Cats Are Great.
Yeah? You think that one's sadder?
Yeah, the melody on that.
Yeah.
That gets me every fucking time.
Yeah.
But,
I just think, the desperation and breakdown of Faith, God, it's like so. I'd probably put like Same Deep Water as You as like the top two for me, but like that's more like relationship-y, like, but like Faith is like there's a lot more going on. Yeah, it's just like, oh my God, that song just like atmosphere, the music, and it's kind of like the first one that takes that formula on, perhaps of like. Where it runs through the whole song, maybe even twice before the lyrics come in, and then he like,
it's a huge intro.
Yeah, and it's just like
it's long as shit too.
What would kind of become like a normal thing for Cure songs, but like just like, I mean, on so many levels, it sums up the album. It sums up fucking life. It's like like depressing, and then it's weird because I mean he's gone on the record like lyrically saying like there's nothing left but faith, like the obvious like idea of faith being all right, I got faith, in whatever at this point, but like I can't, and I don't even know if I can articulate it properly, but I can't get over like the thought of like it being a broken down song where like, well, people think of like faith as being like a good thing, like I still have faith, but almost like when he's saying it in the context of the song, I take it as like there's nothing left but faith, like it being like this is all I have left, and it's like, not
fuck,
and it's not good, like all the
because what is it?
All rational things have been.
Is it
like
some
defeated.
Tangible thing?
Science is gone. Rational thought is gone.
Yeah.
The only thing left is faith, and it's not good. But I mean, he's even like gone on the record saying it's even as bleak as it is. It's a song of slight hope or something. But like but it's like. But I always took it as just like. Because I mean,
my dude right there, man.
I mean, I think it might be like the best lyrics. Even I mean, there's so many like great lines of like the idea of like these mountains never move, and the idea of faith can move mountains. And it's like just so many like great like play on words, and the party just gets better and better with that snarky sarcasm almost. The party just gets like almost like a especially like referring to like a funeral party or something too, like. Listening to this album a lot. My dad passed away. It's like the party
that is life.
Yeah, like when my dad died earlier this year, and you said you listened to this album on the way up to his service even, and like, I mean, I listened to it a billion before and after, but all that was too crazy. But it's like it is just like these words that just like encapsulate that feeling so well. Just like death is like. It's easy to just lump in all these things, but it's just like that. I feel like the whole album is just like it captures that feeling of when your face is like just too puffy from crying all day, but you just don't have anything else left anymore, and it's like, you know what I mean? Vaguely. It's just like when you're just so beat down and shit, and it's not even like the saddest part of it. It's just that numbness, and it's... And which is cool because that's what it should be, because it's not an album about like denial or anger. It's like about that numb period of when you lose somebody and you're just like, what the fuck, and like I don't know.
It's a take on life, and I think literary terms and just a lot of like. I know literary, but you hear of life being described of, excuse me, as like a party, this party that we're all in, and I don't know. I think somewhere in there, I think it's like, that's kind of what he's referring to, is just like life as, like the party, and just like party just keeps getting better and better,
And it's weird because there's no real like sarcasm anywhere else in the song, but it's just like that that one line, the tension builds up, and it's just like the party just gets better and better. It's like,
because it gets into this like, oh, what's next life? Kind of thought, and and it's just like gets to a point where just everything's kind of shitty and
and reverting back to like that funeral, idea of like
this funeral party.
Right.
Maybe it's not a literal funeral party. It's
right. Well, that's, the party, it's like, smart that he always
the party of life. Party life. Yeah,
party life.
What?
And that thrown on top of just that stage of your life where you're moving on as an adult, like becoming an adult, and like again, like the loss of innocence and stuff. It's like it's some heavy shit, man. I don't know. Rape me like a child line. That's like what the fuck, christened in blood. It's like Jesus. That's some fucking. It's weird. I always loved Faith. As a kid, like even I got it, but I always got it in the full package, kind of like what I said with 17 Seconds. So I always took selected songs from this album, but and then they would resurface. Like I remember the song Faith, like really hitting me watching In Orange. Like that's like a fucking great performance of it on that. Just like
oh yeah,
how it just like captures it in the smoke and shit on the stage, and how just like. I'm like, wow, that's a really fucking cool song, and it just made me want to go back and listen to the album more and more. But like,
especially like it has to stand out in Orange too, like where it's like, oh shit, these fuckers are getting dark.
Yeah, and the fact that they're still playing it and stuff is really cool. I don't know. I love that song. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's solid, man. It's up there on the list of just like favorite Cure songs.
Yeah,
like it.
Again, that bass line.
Like, yeah,
it's a good one. So how we kiss as much ass as possible on this show, but like, what about the negatives? If you had to come up with something, what would you feel like is the problem with this album?
That's tough, man. Because all I think is just fantastic. I just have fantastic things to say about it, and like, but I would say kind of like what we've been talking about with like, some of those songs like Primary and Other Voices and Doubt, like, they do kind of take away from, sometimes when I'm listening to it, like they
snap you out
like
of
this
the
album
mood too much.
Yeah, and this album takes me like, it takes me on a fucking journey every time I fucking listen to it. Like, like it's rarely do I like put it on and not listen to the whole. Like if it's going on, I listen to the whole fucking thing. It takes like fucking half an hour or whatever, And I love that. I love the length of it.
It really is a mood. Probably the most album-y album of theirs, where you can't really pull. Which is funny because I said that earlier, and I did like pull songs so much as a kid, like at individual times for mixes and stuff. But like, it really is like a whole thematic album, and it's like,
and
it's funny. I made like a note like saying Primary and Doubt like saved the album because it would be too heavy. So it's like the opposite of here. I'm like, man, without those, it would have just been a total fucking like down in the dumps fest, which is cool for what it is, but at the same time, I think it could have been a little too fucking heavy if he didn't have those songs in there, So.
But like as a child, but I did put Primary on like mixtapes, and and I did like some of the other songs, but I don't think I anywhere near getting them or understanding them. But as an adult, like, as I got older, I kind of flipped the script a little bit and listened to like Primary less and less. But I still listen to it every time. I listen to the record, but I don't put it on mixtapes anymore.
Yeah, they're both great songs.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's that's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah.
I like that it's short, and I think a lot of people would be like, oof.
Yeah.
30 minutes or 37 minutes or whatever.
It's short, but it doesn't feel short, like we've said in the past.
No.
Like it doesn't feel nearly as short as like 17 seconds. I don't know what the total running times compare, but like
that's 27 minutes and I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure it's still short, but like it's like I mean, I think it's because it's so fucking heavy that it's like
getting waterboarded or something, you know. It's like I don't want it to go on any longer. Like it's just like, God damn,
hours,
that's it. I'm good.
You'd fucking die if you kept going for sure. But
you know, it's like swimming in a cold pond or something. You know, we're just like, all right, I'm good. I'm out.
Well, what's your overall
it was awesome, but I can't take any more of it.
What's your overall feel as far as like when you put it on, and what causes a faith moment for you, like just like a mood, or you just like anytime, like is it your go-to Cure album if it's your favorite? Would you go on record even saying it's your favorite Cure album?
Yes. Yeah. No, it's my absolute. I've said it 1,000 times.
That's what I feel
it's literally my favorite record.
All right.
So listening,
is it your go-to then?
Not all. Isn't I wouldn't say it was my go-to, because I don't know. I do listen to it a lot though, but like, I like the length of it.
Yeah,
I think is this charm too. So like, if I'm cooking, if I'm in the mood, I like to listen to that when I'm cooking real loud. It's a good relaxy.
Yeah.
Like smoke some pot and lay on the floor in front of the stereo and listen to it. Not in a sad way, just like a relaxy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not moping around. You know, I'm probably like stretching or something, listening to it. You know.
Yeah.
Like just smoke some pot and relax and listen to Faith, man.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it centers me, and it puts me in a good mood. It makes me happy when I listen to it.
How the fuck does this album make you happy?
Because it just sounds great. It's a perfect, like, it's a dark topic, yeah. But you know, just because it's dark doesn't make it
wallow
bad.
In it when I'm putting it on. I'm going.
You're a wallower.
Yeah, I'm just fucking. It's time, you know. But it is my most fluctuating album of like it's always the one that will bump up and down on my. If I had to rank Cure albums and shit, you know, it's like even from the
moves
start,
around. Yeah,
like some days it's like closing in on my top 3, and then others it's like about 6 or 5, but then like but it's always been improving. I feel like it's one of the few like Cure albums, like most Cure albums,
creeping
like,
up the charts.
I love it where it is, and I know what I'm getting right from the get-go, but like that one I feel like I've definitely, because I don't know, it's weird, as a kid like I liked it, but I just always kind of got it with all the other albums, and like
because you're a dumb fucking kid.
In a sense, but you know, but I shouldn't have been worrying about that kind of shit as a kid. You know, so now I can worry about that shit. You know,
now I have the luxury of being an adult, and I can
fucking get it. You know, but I mean,
soak this fucking record in. But I literally listen to this album all the fucking time. Like, it's a good car. album. I love to blast it because it's all echoey.
Yeah.
The drums are great, and it's probably it's my favorite Lowell drumming record.
Yeah.
It's just choice. It's nuanced. Like the drums just sound fantastic, and there's like the electric pads.
Yeah.
You know, and there's like a nice like delay on those and on the tons of songs, so you just
I feel like that Hedges dude fucking nailed it on this one. Like I don't know what his deal was or how much Robert was telling him to hit what, but because it seemed like he wasn't that invested from shit I've read. He was just like whatever, and it got to a point even like where there's like quotes talking about how like Robert would be cutting like the crazy deep vocals, and they're all just laughing in the studio and shit, and like they like would just ruin the mood when they cut back to him, be like, "Oh yeah, let's get another take," you know, like because they're just having a good time and shit. But like But yeah, I felt like he fucking nailed whatever the fuck mood they're going for. They got it. It's like perfect.
Like if you took out like, say like the delayed aspects of like the electronic pads in the drumming, the record wouldn't be as good, and it would sound completely different.
Yeah,
you know, because there's so few sounds, there's so few instruments. Like the detail of just and a simple drum setup is like sound to match the simplicity of the instrumentation. Like very basic drum beats, but what is used so well. He's playing like little melodies on the rototoms in the songs, like that's perfect, and that adds to like a proper 3-piece sound, playing this immense heavy material. You have little melodic toms, delayed fucking electronic drums coming. That's the beat, the heart of the album, and it's slow, melodic in a way, and delayed. Like what a nest to put all these sounds in,
Yeah, for sure.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautifully crafted album for sure. So. And Robert said he learned a lot from the recording of this album from him and others, It's like it really does show like the next steps of what's to come, and I don't know.
Yeah, completely, man.
I had remember too, like digging up the set list from shows that we had seen, and at Merriweather when they did the Bloodflowers tour, the Dream tour in 2000, they did an encore of all Faith shit, and I was like, kind of thinking because like. I was trying to find like his like thoughts on it now, like Robert Smith's, and like they've kind of gone back and forth on different like whatever quotes you find, like where they're never quite as big on Faith as you think they would be. Like I think because it was such a pain in the ass to record.
It's such a bad period in his life or something.
Yeah, and that's what he said. Like he just thinks of like all those deaths in the family and shit, and like just it not being a good time. So like they don't really think that fondly of the album, and which might even explain why they weren't like playing that many songs on this current tour and stuff. And but I remember like when we saw him for Bloodflowers, there was that Faith tour, and like I remember that distinctly being like, oh my god, hearing those songs in that environment, like that probably was like the first time we heard like All Cats Are Gray, Drowning Man, and Faith live. It's just like it was fucking powerful. I remember just being like, and like best. To me being like on top of like so much hype of that being the last Cure tour and stuff. I remember sitting there just being like, this is the fucking end. Like not even like being a huge fan of the Drowning Man, song wise, but I was just like, this is it. This is the end. This is the last time I'm gonna see Robert. And like not knowing how many fucking encores they're gonna do and stuff, and just how gloomy it was. And
one more, man, one more.
But and I just felt like hearing those songs like really. It made me love them even more, like in that environment for later years, even, which is kind of weird. So,
yeah.
But I don't know. How do you feel like the album cover covers the mood of the album?
It's perfect.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it, and I love the fact that it was like Pearl that did it. Like keeps it like in the family and in the band, and like just makes it fucking cooler.
That was the first one apparently that he contributed on, and
that's part of Robert Smith trying to woo him into getting in the band. He's like, "Come on, you could do the artwork, dude."
It's like, all right, but yeah, it's pretty awesome. The Bolton Priory, the monastery, like I guess has a huge history. Like fucking 1100s, I guess I jotted down, but I mean I couldn't really find the full. It's just crazy history of this place, but like
I love that you researched that for the podcast.
Yeah, well, I always wanted to figure out what the hell it was. I thought it was like some blown up thing from like the war or something, and like, but yeah, it like went even further back and isn't nearly as decrepitated as the album cover makes it look. And it's kind of I feel like it's kind of a crappy album cover standalone, but when you like take it in the context of the album, it's perfect because it's like exactly what every song sounds.
Would you have anything else?
Yeah, it's like everything just feels gray and kind of hazy like that, you know. And it's like
reminds me of like a black metal album cover.
Yeah, probably.
And then and that's meant in a very good like that. Like, that's kind of dope.
Totally. You want to touch on the tour stuff real quick? We're probably way over on time wise, but
yeah.
But yeah, the tour stuff for this album was pretty crazy. Like with the circus tent shit, the whole idea of like going on tour and they set up like a tent and they didn't even have an opening act and they were just like, I don't know how the hell they did like pre-sale tickets or maybe they didn't even, but they would just like set up a like traveling circus and play.
That's so dope.
It seemed to go all right, I guess. I don't know, but like. And then,
like it sounds like something like the Juggalos or whatever would do.
Yeah,
like, we got our own traveling circus. It would be crazy, son, and like whoop whoop. And but no, it's like it's just you walk into that tent thinking like, oh, tents are fun.
Yeah.
And then you watch like a fucking fucked up film with a fucked up soundtrack, and then they play fucking Faith, and you walk out. You're just like, what the.
Talking about the time travel aspect, yeah, it's just be like, what the fuck? I would go to a circus tent Cure show for sure. And I never quite was able to like confirm if the Carnage Visors thing was during this because they did like a couple like mini tours and like I'm thinking it was part of it, but like that was the other thing like where they did a soundtrack. They're sick of having opening bands, so they like recorded over a film that Simon's brother made for it, and basically on the tape that came out and is on the reissue.
They buried the original copy with Lowell's mom.
They what?
They buried the original copy of the film with Lowell's mom.
No. But yeah, probably rumor has it. Why not? It's like all the shit buried with Lowell's mom. They just threw all of it in there. But for the tour, so Simon's brother had to like reshoot all this like. I think it's like claymation or something. I don't know if there's any like there's some kind of little like stop motion
puppet
stuff going on. Like
I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen like a clip of it.
Yeah, I think they had like a couple of quick parts, but not like the whole. And then I was like surprised that they recorded the whole soundtrack blind because it was having trouble with that. So they just like fucking recorded it. There's like a great passage in the 10 Imaginary Boys book, but I won't read it now because we're running over on time. But it was like how Robert basically recorded it to like a Dr. Rhythm drum beat because it's like it's not like a low beat by any means. It's like a little, and he was playing bass, and he said that Simon would just pour like wine in his mouth while he was playing, and then like they made it to like 3 bottles by the end of it. And then
not that long.
Simon did some overdubs. It's pretty fucking long. It is like way longer.
Like 15 minutes.
Like, every time I listen to it, I'm always like, this fucking rules. And like the first like 10 minutes, I'm like so into it that I'm just like, all right, they're just dicking around. Where it just totally sounds like they're dragging it out by the end. But but pretty fucking cool.
I listen to it every once in a while. Like if like not all the time, but sometimes I'll just like let it play.
Yeah, I listen to it more than I probably should.
I know.
It's nice for at work. I just put it on and I'm like, doom doom, like that first part of it fucking rules. It's like the first like 5 minutes.
After this lunch,
so good, yeah, I'm just like. It says a lot about my job, or I just listen to Carnage Visors over and over. To see where Faith went is a good way to wrap this up too. Like I feel like, man. And I came up with like a cool, in my mind, perspective of death and
Jesus.
And like now they always talk about like cool perspective of death.
Should
now,
write
like,
that down, dude.
You know how like yeah, I got this. Well, the stages, right? You know, and to me, it seemed to fit like in the idea of like all this heavy shit, like with religion and death going down in the numbness that this album feels like of like if you do lose somebody that's dear to you, how this all feels, you know? And it's like I talked about earlier, that phase where you're just like cry yourself till your face is too puffy and your just eyes are like, ugh. And that's how Faith sounds. And then like ultimately it always leads into like the next stage of being anger. And to me, like, that's pornography coming up on the horizon. You know, it's like, that's like that fucking pissed off anger phase of like after losing somebody or just like battling through depression or whatever it may be, you know? And it's like, and it totally makes sense in the context of these albums where they're just like beat down from touring. Like, apparently they're like playing constant shows through all of this. So it's just like one of those things you don't really put in perspective nowadays, but like they were just a band that like never like took a fucking break. When you think of the timeline, I mean, it's like recording these albums, touring, you know, doing multiple tours for these albums all within a year, you know, it's like that would, and then playing these kind of fucking songs, you know, it's like, God damn, of course it's going to come to a head, and that's pornography, the anger stage, you know, and it's like, I feel like that's what's weird about pornography is it's just like it's a full on like depressing anger more than like just like being beat down like in Faith, you know, like it's just sad and weighing like hanging the weight of all this depression on you, like to like pornography gets to the point where it just gets fucking
it's the
crazy,
ball bouncing
you know?
back up after you throw it down, you know.
Yeah, for sure. But that's my take.
It is like I don't know. Like, I guess I guess
your faith conclusion.
Like, I guess I've been blessed. I don't want to say blessed, but I've just been fucking lucky. Like, I haven't experienced a lot of loss in my life, like other than dogs, which have fucking fucked me up for years. You know, some of my poor sweet dogs that have passed, like. Other than that, like, I haven't experienced a lot of loss, and hearing a record all about like, almost like not even just a record, but like, you know, one piece in a puzzle of albums that goes through like possibly the stages of grief. You know, it's a little, you know, that aspect is a little alien to me, like, and it's weird, and I don't take them as like downers. I see what you're saying completely, you know, but I don't take Faith as a downer. You know, I look at it as, you know, someone that's putting words and melodies to, you know, a part of life, you know, the party even. And it's beautiful, like, you know, it's hard to put words to things, and it's hard to put a mood to things, like relationships, death. It's hard to make it, you know, make it eloquent, you know. It's and that's why they're great records, and that's why I think Pornography is like probably my second favorite fucking record, like. You know,
right?
It's more accessible to me, like,
I mean,
emotionally, like lyrically, and like the feel versus Faith, actually. But Faith is just done so well, because like, you know, I recognize the feel of that record. You know, it does put like, almost just like you were saying, it's like the tail end of that emotional loss, you know, then comes the anger, and anger sounds like a Metallica lyric, but like anger is easily accessible. You know, like I know what that is more than like loss, you know. So it's more accessible that way, like lyrically and mood wise, which is weird. I never really thought of it like that.
And I think that's why I always like Faith a little bit more than Pornography, because it's like so much more like still kind of like emotional, you know, like Pornography just always comes off a little too harsh to me, you know, like or it's a little too cutting, and like, which in that context, for me anyway, it makes sense, but it's just like I can't be in that, like it knowing that how that feels, I can't be in that a lot, and it's like at certain moments it's the perfect album, or else it's the album that I'll least want to hear, and it's like
sometimes I turn
it's just
I turn pornography off, it's just like goddamn, like just like the
I mean it's
like
it's a lot. It
comes
definitely takes
at
it up
you.
a notch. No matter whatever perspective you take of faith, I think going into pornography, it's like, okay, this is definitely the death of this stage of the cure, which Lowell even goes into a bit in his book.
It's
there, and like makes total sense because it's true. You look at what comes after it, it's like definitely a whole new cure after that.
And this is like faith is just like looking over the horizon of that for the first time. It's just like, they're like, coming. This is a fucking thing. And like Robert too, like to add to what you're saying, like, I was reading something like where he borrowed Lowell's drums after like the faith stuff when going into record or into like writing pornography, and it's like,
and he was playing.
Yeah, he was kind of like writing with that rhythmic aspect of like playing fucking writing songs, like fucking around on drums, and like.
Yeah.
Yeah, and awesome. This is just like the little
start of a different perspective, maybe. Yeah, last little record on drums.
Yeah.
So. But we'll dive into that.
I know. I can't
episode.
wait, man. That's going to be a dark one.
Pornography.
We're going to be all fucked
next.
up, like Clockwork Orange eyes, like
do some
Quaaludes.
Fucking coke. And well, thanks so much for listening. That's been Faith. Pornography is around the corner.
Coming
it's only going to get darker. So get your dark shit on.
Yeah.
We're going there. But, take it easy.
Yeah, man. It's been great talking to you guys. Yeah. Holy Hour says bye.
Talk hard, suckers.
Talk hard.
All right, thank you so much for hanging in there. I know that was a longer episode, but we couldn't sell Faith short, right? Come on. So be sure to go on over to iTunes now and subscribe to the Holy Hour podcast if you haven't already. That way you can get the new episodes as soon as they're posted and follow along and see what is coming next. So we are so thrilled to have you there. Rate us, rank us, and do what you want with us over on iTunes. And if that's not enough for you, go on over to Facebook too and like that page where you can follow a specific inside scoop for each episode. And we'll throw a few little extra tidbits in there so you can see what we've been talking about for the last hour and 20 minutes or whatever this has been. And you know what? If you're one of those people that's like, Facebook is for housewives and little girls and grandmas, I follow Instagram. Well, that's cool too. Whatever. Social media, I don't give a shit. We're there too. Go to Holy Hour Podcast and find us on Instagram where you can find cool pictures for each episode as they're posted. And we also throw out a lot more feelers and stuff on Instagram. So if you want to contribute to an upcoming episode, keep an eye on Instagram. For instance, we have a Letter to Elise topic floating around out there. And if you have a story or a thought you would like to share, that's where you can find some feelers for those. But even if that is just something you don't even care about and you have your own cure story you want to share, I want to hear it. Everybody wants to hear it, and let's post it into an episode. Even if we don't put it in right away, we'll bank it and make it fit one way or another. So record yourself talking a cure story anytime, a rant or review, just your thoughts on a song or an album, a concert you went to on this last tour. We love it. We'll put it all in there. And if you don't want to record yourself talking, you can even send me an email. Send it to gavinconner@gmail.com. It'll get right on the air at some point, and we'll be forever in debt to you. Because guess what? If you don't contribute, it's just going to be me and Donald talking away, jibber-jabbering, saying dope, and me going, yeah, over and over. So it's up to you, good people of the internet. Please contribute. Your voices need to be heard in this project too. And while you're out there surfing away on the web, be sure to check out Arusha's upcoming film Push, a Cure fan documentary. You can get all the latest social media updates at curefandocumentary.com. And while you're there, donate some money. Let's make this thing happen. She's been a huge help to this show in particular, and just all Cure fans throughout this 2016 tour and just over the last God knows how many years now. So go over and support her. And while you're doing that, I don't know if this is going to be too late for Christmas. I'll say it isn't. It's never too late. Go buy some presents over at mixedupgifts.com. Even if it is past Christmas by the time this airs, I'm sure that you got a bunch of crap you didn't really like. So buy yourself or buy a friend a gift basket at mixedupgifts.com, where you can find all kinds of cool stuff. I don't even really know how to describe the variety of awesome stuff. Some of it's Cure related, some of it isn't. But you're bound to find something that you're just like, holy shit, I must own this. Go on over to mixedupgifts.com and piece together something awesome for somebody or yourself. Great prices, cool little things that you would never expect. I'm still wearing my little Robert Smith from South Park pin on my jean jacket, and I'm loving it. So go over and spend some money. Spend some of that Christmas money, whether it's pre or post. So until next time, this has been Gavin. Thanks so much to Donald for talking faith with me, and thanks to you, yes, you, so much for listening, and we'll catch you soon. Once again, talk hard.